Hello and a very warm welcome to CNBC Africa Special with me, Stephen Muvunyi. Rwandan schools have been closed for over 6 months now due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but the government is undertaking a gradual reopening of schools that is starting this month. In the following conversation, Rwanda's Minister of Education, Dr. Valentine Uwamariya, is going to discuss the measures and the investments that are being made to ensure not only safety, but also improve quality of education. Minister, thank you very much for your time to speak to CNBC Africa. Let's quickly jump into it. Rwanda is reopening schools very soon after months of closure. So quickly tell us how prepared you are to ensure the schools are safe for everyone.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me to your studio. But first of all, reopening means students going back to school physically, but doesn't mean that all along learning and teaching was not taking place. Because since schools were closed in March, we immediately thought of other ways of delivering lessons. That is why we started investing in e-learning and use of TVs and radio to deliver some lessons. But we knew that all children were not able to follow those lessons, either online, through internet and websites from different schools and universities. That is why we introduced the TVs and the radios lessons, but still again, students from remote areas, from villages, we haven't yet got the full assessment on how the learning took place during this period, but we realized some students were really completely out of school without any facilities to follow those lessons. Not talking about internet, but all of them do not have TVs and radios at their homes. And we knew that when school reopens, we'll have to design kind of catch-up program so that we can bring them at the same level as others who could manage to follow courses and lessons during school's closure. So you were asking questions, how ready are we? Because we've started talking about reopening of the schools. That means there are some preparatory work that took place. So that is one of the important activity that started even immediately after school closure, because as the health system kept communicating how this pandemic is spread, what measures people have to take to get away from it. Social distancing was one of them. And we knew already that we have overcrowding in our classrooms. So that was the first challenge we had. Nobody knew when the pandemic would be over, and we were not going to close schools forever, so something was to be done on the side of classrooms. That is why the government immediately took a decision to increase the number of schools and new schools, but also addition of new classrooms on existing schools. That is why in the whole country we are building, and that started. The decision was taken in April, and then we started looking for funds to start that project. Of course, there was one project that was going on, but it was about to construct only 2,700 classrooms for this fiscal year. But again, we multiplied by 10 the number of classrooms that will be needed once the schools will open. So we are now we are constructing more than 20,000 new classrooms, and among them are at new schools, meaning that we'll have more than 600 schools in a country, new ones. And that is not enough, because if you have a new classroom, you must have a new teacher. So we are also recruiting new teachers, close to 28,000 new teachers. So that is one of the main activity that immediately started, even though we didn't know when the schools are going to reopen. And today we are saying that we start reopening, and we start with higher learning institutions, and there are basic facilities that are needed to be in place so that we make sure we make sure that we are responding to the measures for preventing the pandemic.
Before you proceed, Minister, how much are you investing in building the number of classrooms that you've mentioned?
I don't have the exact number, but it's close to 200 billion Rwandan francs. That will be the cost of the new classrooms and schools that are being constructed. So once we have those schools and new classrooms, we are sure that we'll be able to respect the social distancing in a class. And on top of that, we have to put in place other measures, like having enough hand wash facilities. So if you have time maybe to look around, we found out at any school in the country, they are constructing hand washing facilities. Some are there already, others are in the process, and they're about to get ready to be used by the student and staff. The other thing is, in general, the cleanliness in a school or in a campus, because we don't want to go back again after this period. We want to maintain that cleanliness and that habit of hand washing, especially the kids to learn from their age, to learn how to get clean, and the benefits of keeping their hands clean, and all of that. So that is one of the lessons we learned from COVID-19. Another thing is, and where we are putting so much efforts, I've talked about the use of technology in education. So what the lesson that COVID taught us is use of technology in education is very, very important, especially during this period where we are obliged to close schools. So we realized schools that invested in technology, they pursued their teaching and learning without any problem. So as a government, we said, what can we do to increase the use of technology in teaching? So to this, I can inform you that we are now trying to connect more schools. And there is a new project that will start very soon, or what we call smart education, where we are going to connect more than 1,600 schools to the internet. But not only that, because we may have internet, but if you don't have tools to use that internet, it might be not useful. So we will invest as well in providing tools. At the beginning, we want to put much focus on teachers, because we've been investing in smart classrooms, but during lockdown, they were not being used. And teachers could not access them because they were at school. But if we can provide tools to teachers, and we train them on how to use them, and they have internet around, then they can start to learn how to deliver lessons online, so that if anything else happens, we know we have another alternative. But not only that, even in normal days, we would keep using that, because it has been proven to be a right tool, not only to deliver lessons, but also to increase the quality of education. So those are the main investments we are doing now to make sure that we are ready to reopen, because even universities and other higher learning institutions, they are encouraged to use both modes, face-to-face, but also e-learning mode of teaching.
Minister, this obviously requires the private sector to participate, to take part in making sure those investments are or the resources are available. So how are you engaging them?
One thing is all the schools are not government-owned schools. We have also private schools. They are even far ahead from us in terms of using technology. So we keep attracting and discussing with private sector to invest in education. But not just having schools and attracting students, but also having in place the required infrastructures to facilitate the delivery of lessons, the teaching and learning. So on our side, more efforts are in trying to attract investors in education, but also we are working with technology industry, because if we are talking about increasing the smart education, we are going to work with Huawei, for example. If we are talking about those tools, they are not manufactured by education institutions. That means we work with private sector. And we can't put aside the construction of these schools. If you see the money that is spent on materials to be used in this exercise, and like from cement to iron sheets, everything that is used in construction, I believe there was involvement of private sector. Otherwise, we couldn't do this work alone. We may have budget, you have plans, but if there is no investors on board, if there is no private sector on board, we cannot cope with this exercise. But in the future, what we want more investment in education, but not just education as such, but as you well know, the country also is embracing science and technology. So we are more encouraging those who want to invest in science and technology fields of education.
All right. Talking of the future, the government has set different targets under the National Strategy for Transformation, such as increasing enrollment in TVET to 60% from 31% in 2017. What are you doing to ensure these targets are met?
Yes, when we in our plans, we always look at those targets either in NST1, Vision 2020, that's the one we are closing now, 2050, and then 20. So whatever we plan, it is in line with the set targets by the government. So in this exercise of constructing new schools, I want to inform you that we are adding new trades or new programs on the existing schools. We are in 81 schools. We are adding new schools, but mainly by the schools, the teaching classrooms, they will be the same, but we are constructing workshops, what we call workshops, and equipping them with required materials that will facilitate the training. So if we have 81 new schools, we are sure that we are going to increase the number of students attending TVET schools. And we are also constructing new schools, excellent ones, in Nyagatare, Gicumbi, Burera. They are already Nice schools, and we tend to extend them. They will start with new programs. I hope you know a little bit about TVET, because there is what we call trades. For example, we may call welding, carpentry, software development, things like that. So we start with new 2 programs, but the intention is to increasing the number of trades offered so that we can also attract more students. And in our plans as well, because now we will be sure that we have enough classrooms for general education, for future plan is to keep increasing the number of TVET schools, because they are more expensive. It's not only having classrooms, but we have to equip them with good equipment. So in our future plans is to have at least an excellent school in each sector, offering the trades that are attractive to the population around. So our next plan is to keep increasing the number of classroom or workshops or new schools for TVET programs.
One of the most concerning issues when it comes to education is quality. So many people are really critical of this particular issue, and you've been minister for since the last 7 months. What is your strategy? What are you going to do differently to ensure that quality of education in Rwanda is improved?
Improving quality of education is not only the role of the Minister of Education. It should be a shared responsibility between, yes, the Minister of Education is the one to give the direction, but we can't do it alone. And one of our strategy, I can say it, we have it already, because for quality of education, there are 3 important or key components to be sure that you'll get quality of education you need. One is the required infrastructure. Second is the programs you are offering. Here I'm talking about well-designed curricula that respond to the labor market. And third are teachers. So teachers are even at the center, because you may have good infrastructure, your lessons are well designed. Here I'm talking about the curricula, the learning outcomes are clear, but if you don't have capacitated staff to deliver the lessons, that would not, you won't achieve the quality of education we want. So one of our strategy is to have the required infrastructure. And I thank the government that facilitated us to have at least those classrooms, because we were talking about overcrowding. In a classroom, suppose you are a teacher and you have 100 students in a classroom, it will be hard for you to know who is really following what you are teaching, who are the students that are weak, that need more support. But even if you realize there are students that need more support, but there are many in a class. So if we manage to reduce the crowd in a class and have few students that teachers are able to follow and guide, we believe it is an added value to the quality of education. And the second thing that I talked about is the technology, use of technology. Rwanda is embracing using technology at all levels of education. And the third thing, we are trying to contextualize the curricula that we have to the real situation, so that the students are not lost somewhere. They have something, they learn something at school, but after that they don't know how to translate into something that can benefit them. But the third and the most important factor for getting the quality of education you want is the teachers. That is what I wanted to emphasize here. And I told you that we are recruiting many new teachers because of new classrooms we have. We want to invest in training our teachers regularly, having a stable and continuous mode of training them. But you are aware that teachers are complaining about the payment, all that. So in parallel to the continuous development of the teachers, we are also planning to see how can we improve the welfare of teachers so that they love what they do. Because what we realize is that even if you are recruiting this year, you will see us again recruiting next year. Every year we are in the process of recruitment. It's because some good teachers are leaving the profession because they look for better treatment elsewhere. So we cannot communicate now what we are planning to do for them, but I want to inform you that we have to improve the welfare of the teachers so that they can feel comfortable in their profession and stay there and do it together with us, because as I said, we cannot do it alone. And the last thing is the parents. So the parents have to support us. I know that they are happy today we are opening schools, but without their support in managing the student from home to school, in following up where the students are, what are they doing, even monitoring what the teachers are doing in the class. If we have that kind of cooperation, I think we can achieve the quality we want.
Well, you said you can't reveal to us what exactly you're going to do to improve their welfare, but could you reveal to us probably the time you've set yourself to make the changes in terms
of soon? Yeah, I don't want to reveal something that is not yet at the. Yeah, but you will hear that. We will not keep it in the cupboard, but we will have to communicate and explain how we are going to work together to have that in place.
My last question, Minister. One of the things that many have pointed to as, an issue contributing to the lack of quality is lack of consistency in Rwanda's education. There are many reforms that are, introduced and then they are cancelled, during implementation. What is your take on that?
Yeah, I do agree with you. In education, to see the impact, it takes time. So if you have something today and after 2 years you change it, of course there is impact on the achievements. But also, if you see something is wrong, it would even be worse if you leave it by saying that, no, we cannot change it right now because it may have some effects. Yet, still, the negative impact will be seen after 5, 10, even so many years. So that is why if there are changes to be made, they have to be made now. But also set a long plan. So don't think that if you do something today, you will see impact tomorrow, but leave a room where you can also adapt, not call it completely changes, but if you see something wrong, you can't wait for 2 or 3 years to correct it. It's better you correct it, even if there are those criticism, but with time people realize these changes were needed. But the most important is not to do it alone as a Minister of Education. So you plan together with all stakeholders in education, because there are many, and that is why when schools close, you see everyone is talking about schools. So it's because everyone has interest in it. So if you do it together with all stakeholders, and you understand the reason behind making change, I don't think it would create impact. But I do also agree that keep changing, bringing something new when even the other one is not yet fully implemented. It creates some confusion, and at the end, it has a negative impact on education. Better to build a strong system that allows small changes, but the whole system will be evaluated after a few years. For education, you can't see, you will see changes in 1 or 2 years, but you may expect to see changes in a given number of years, but that will happen if you have good plans.
And that's all for the conversation with Rwanda's Minister of Education, Dr. Valentine Uwamariya. From myself, Stephen Muvunyi, and the team, is goodbye.